Hello and welcome back. Northstar here with another Singularity Let's Play. I've been playing this game, so I figure I might as well record it for you folks. Maybe it'll be interesting. Maybe. Hold on a sec. Sorry about that. A bit of tense itching in my ears after I shower. It's annoying. I don't know, I have earwax that's unusually thick and itchy and it causes problems, and also a bit of coughing. The earwax is just a long running the minor health problems I've had my whole life. So, um, people who are fortunate enough to be born without a million. Well, that's most people, but not being born with a zillion little minor health problems is nice. I must imagine. I got screwed by this. And of course, nobody ever holds one's parents accountable for choosing terrible people, terrible DNA on top of that. Yeah, my parents are both jerks. My dad's an abusive asshole, and they gave me terrible DNA to boot. They don't pay the consequences of that. I do. I don't know. I must agree with the people sometimes who say you should have a license to reproduce. It's ridiculous. Some of the pricks who have kids out there. But whatever. Unfortunately, no one can be trusted with the responsibility of giving out such licenses, especially not in our current day and age with capitalism ruining everything. That would almost certainly go to corruption and winner take all very quickly. It's hard to imagine any system would be able to handle that kind of power responsibly, but certainly not our own. Still, it would be nice if more of the little minor health problems people have to deal with were taken seriously in terms of research, and the big ones. I suffer from long COVID, as I'm sure I've mentioned before, and there's very little money being put into trying to cure that. And that's like a big life-ruining health problem due to a virus. Not something I was born with or anything, but, you know, something I acquired from getting infected by coronavirus, and not even that willingly. A roommate came back from a business trip, already infected with COVID, crossing state lines that we would do so. Wouldn't listen to me. I told me I could still infect me, even though I'd had COVID once before, 10 months earlier, because about 10 months after the immunity for COVID only lasted about 10 months from getting an infection of it. Back that the research had already shown back then that was the case, and so, but yeah, he just wanted to do what was easy for him. He wasn't thinking that it could. He wasn't taking seriously the possibility he could end up killing me or disabling me through this virus. I didn't even know about the possibility of long COVID, but everyone knew about the possibility of death. So, yeah, but the guy was an entrepreneur. He thought he was God. I was already coming around to becoming a socialist at that time, because seeing how capitalism fucks people and seeing how we put entrepreneurs on this pedestal, they're job creators. When they're young and hungry, they go around fucking people like their roommates over, and when they're older, they go screwing over investors and workers, and people will get to the top of their lifetime of stepping on people. These people should not be rewarded for stepping on people. None of the billionaires deserve the money they have, and none of the millionaire entrepreneurs either. They're often the most scumbag, dishonest people in society who get to the top, not the hardest working. Now, hardworking people who are smart and talented and lucky will often rise fairly high, but the very highest rank, the people who reach the very highest levels are always the people who are, yes, hardworking, but not the hardest working. What distinguishes them is usually, in fact, a certain kind of scumbaggery and willingness to cheat, to not have to work as hard. Because people can only have so much, willpower to just work harder. Someone who steals and rips off others can get around that by not playing fair. Of course, this roommate I had wasn't such a prick, and he'll probably never make it to the top. Because, despite that one stupid, selfish act, the guy was generally too kind-hearted to do the things that were necessary to rise to the top of our fucked-up system. Oh. Indeed, when he realized that I had gotten very, very sick due to his careless behavior, that roommate was actually quite apologetic about it. Not that there's anything he could have done, and given how much damage he'd done in my life, he would have taken enormous efforts to even come close. He didn't do that. It was more like, oh, I'm sorry, and leaving me some furniture when he's moving out of the apartment. Like, that's gonna help me just cause me to be disabled, and ripped my entire future away from me, and he left me a few chairs. You can see how that's not a few old chairs that were kind of beat up anyhow. That's not, and a rug. Yeah, it was a nice rug, though. I don't have a place for it even now. It's a nice gesture, but it's still not, it does not make up for what happened. But I've met worse people than that, This guy generally tried to do the right thing. Former military guy. He had a certain sense of honor about him. I expected that. Even if he's very wholeheartedly taking part in the toxic systems of capitalism, he tried to do it with a certain sense of honor. May have held back his success, but the fact that he put his principles somewhat first was important and admirable. Anyways, I'm sure some of you know, I've also mentioned that I was at one time in ROTC myself and trying to do military stuff, so that was something I had not exactly in common with the guy because he'd actually served and I had just gotten screwed by medical clearance, but I wanted to serve in this country, at least back then when I didn't realize what an imperialist mess the US was. Yeah, that was something in common with the guy. It made it easier to get along with him, despite the differences. Anyways, since doing the Beyond thing here, I know it's running a tiny bit slow because Microsoft Clipchamp is cutting into one of my videos that was too long. Hearts Iron Multiplayer. I really need to find a better video editing software. Clipchamp is garbage, and I found that after it edits videos, it maintains a data buffer larger than the video it just cut in half, even after I saved a copy of the video, and it should just be clearing the buffer. I've had to go into like settings, apps, and delete, in one case, 90 gigabytes of data from that thing. It's a piece of shit program. Microsoft really does lazy, crappy programming, and they get away with it because they have basically a monopoly, and if it's either them or Apple. Yay, capitalism screwing us over again. I don't know. Because that makes me think vaguely of Software Inc., which I might do a video of soon. Maybe even today. Probably not. Maybe. See how that fares. You can be a software, hardware developer, and you can develop operating systems. You can even do illegal stuff like have the operating systems spy on users by covertly activating the microphones on the computers they're installed on. That's literally a thing you can do in that game. So you can be Microsoft but worse. I'm assuming that's not something they've got caught doing, though I wouldn't be surprised if they do it. So if they have, point me to a link on like the news story. I'd be really interested if they got caught doing that. That would just be one more piece of evidence of how shitty our system is. One more thing to point at intransigent assholes who think that nothing needs to change. Stupid pricks. So many of them. Whatever. I imagine by the time my channel ever gets big enough that many people will listen to this, this will be months, years old. People will be looking back and they'll be like, thinking I wasn't harsh enough on what was happening in our system. In terms of shit, that or America will have gone up the deep end of fascism, and people are like, oh, you damn socialist, leftist, whatever name they can come up with to label me, whether it's true or not. I'll be very clear, I am a democratic socialist. I am not a Marxist-Leninist. I have some serious objections with their stuff, so I'm not a communist. I'm a socialist. And that does not mean Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is a social democrat. It means I believe we need to vote out of being capitalism, nationalized industries, stuff like that. Peaceful change should be in elections to be pursued wherever possible, but if the ruling class do refuse to allow peaceful change, if they subvert elections and steal them, people do have the right to turn the revolution in that case. The ruling class either have to respect the electoral process or face the consequences of refusing to respect it. It's that simple. So far, they've just respected the process and instead just bought elections, and by that I mean throwing money at advertising to get whatever result they want, and people have been gullible and stupid enough to be manipulated by this advertising. Here's a general rule of thumb. If someone's showing you a political ad, it doesn't matter what it says, either automatically believe the opposite of what it's saying, or go through a conscious effort to go finding out why it's bullshit and lies. Don't let that shit influence you. Whoever has the most money is probably the least likely to be telling the truth to you. I don't know why people don't get this. I mean, you cannot pretend that you're immune to advertising or propaganda. You are not. So you need to consciously work to believe the opposite of whatever you're being told. Because these assholes who buy political ads, where do you think they get the money for that? They get the money from that. It's the very, very rich who are trying to co-opt the whole system to work to their interests, no one else's. And how? If it proves impossible to overcome this political advertising, then we don't really have a free system. And then people shouldn't go along with this whole, maybe I'm wrong to be a democratic socialist. Maybe I'm stupid to think people can overcome this and organize. And it's not real freedom if you're, quote, free to think in a system where your thoughts are controlled by extensive advertising and you're not, and propaganda. You can't ever really form an independent thought. That's not real freedom. So maybe I'm stupid and gullible to think it's possible to overcome. I try to be humble about how much I know, but I do know people have to try, at least try, to change things, and it's best to probably try to work within the system first. Because capitalism will destroy the planet. It will make human suffering escalate to ever higher levels. You think it's bad now, it's going to be 100 times worse someday. Capitalism was on its best behavior during the Cold War era, because otherwise people would have just said fuck this and went inside with the Soviet Union. Now that the Soviets aren't around anymore, capitalism is showing its true colors. And it's only had a few decades to do so, so this isn't the worst it'll get. This is also evidence that the wrong side won the Cold War, because let me put it this way, the socialists didn't seem to be in any hurry to show their best side to people. That was who they were, and for better or worse. So we already know what humanity kind of missed out on or turned away from. You haven't even seen the worst of what's to come. That's because capitalism has a unique feature of, a separate ruling class of billionaires and politicians, and it allows a much more almost schizophrenic, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing kind of situation, which wasn't true of socialism, where the ruling class were the bureaucrats, were the politicians. So it's much more straightforward. What you see is what you get as a result. Anyways, wow, this has gotten huge. And yet you still need to go to the solar system to find the occasional golden asteroids as a booster in the Beyond mode. That's about it. Just seeing if I get one last boost here. Viewers, I hope you enjoyed the video. Keep tuned for my pop-up dungeon videos, my Wildermyth Let's Plays, maybe I'll do a Software Inc. or an Interstellar Transport Company, or both. At some point I'll return to KSB, and at some point I'll do Stellaris. I just started looking at the old save I had for that again. It'll be a very old version of the game, but maybe that'll be different than all the, I'm sure, stuff in the newest version that's out. Till next time, take care of each other, be kind to yourselves. May you always find a guiding story to lead you home. Adieu, and best wishes, audience.